Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I'm happy to introduce this video to you and tell you about this game that has changed my life for the better. This is a game that I've been in every aspect of the community for the amount of time that I've been playing it, and I've been playing this game for a long time. I know, this video is very different from most of the other videos that I do, and because I am cheap and won't buy proper video editing software, this is going to look pretty clunky, but hear me out. I've spent so many hours in this game. I'm actually working on the road to 1,000 hours right now, and I'm still enjoying playing every time I boot up the game. Sure, I've added a few mods here and there, and you'll see some of them as you watch the recording in the background, but it's nothing intrusive and most of them are visual. This game has changed the way I look at games as an experience, and shown that a game doesn't have to be grand to kill time day in and day out. I just wanted to use this video to talk about the great things about this game, and also a few of its flaws. Yes, even though I have 100% of this game and absolutely love it to pieces, there are a few issues I can't overlook. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. This game's amazing. I started playing it at Afterbirth Plus, which is one of the DLCs, and I've been playing religiously since I bought it about a year ago now. I didn't actually finish all the content that was available in the game until way after Repentance had released. When I say I played this game religiously after I bought it, I mean religiously. I could not stop playing this game. The replay factor is unparalleled to me, and the way that unlocks are handled is something I fell in love with right off the bat. The characters are all really fun to play, well, at least the base characters. I'll get into the tiny characters later. And all the different bosses are fun to fight and creative to keep me wanting to fight them and keep them interesting. Well, all except for one. What really kept me playing is the thought of getting to try a new item every time I want to run with a character for the first time. Nothing can describe the feeling of getting Godhead for the first time after a long crawl that is the Lost's unlocks. The story of the game was very minimal until we got to Repentance and actually got the fleshed out ending, and that made it all better. But even with the story we had in Afterbirth Plus, it was so interesting to see all of the cutscenes for the first time and feel that rush of adrenaline as I was finishing an intense fight with the final boss of whatever run that I was doing. Coming from someone who used to play Five Nights at Freddy's all the time, the change in storytelling from the most convoluted shit I have ever seen in my life to something that was more simple but still had to dig to find was a breath of fresh air. To get a little personal here for a moment, I am a person who has had to fight a battle when it comes to organized religion. It has put me in a lot of tough spots. Edmund McMillan clearly knows how this feels because he put my feelings of how religion can hurt a young mind when used wrong perfectly. I don't know if I'm a credible source or not, but I did hear somewhere that he had struggled with things similar to what I struggled with churches and the like. It's kind of refreshing to feel that I'm not alone in the feelings that I feel, and the story of the game just kind of hit really close to home with some of the things that Isaac had to go through in that game. Now that we've talked about the story aspect of the game, let's talk a little bit more about the gameplay. There are 17 characters in the game to choose from, and 17 more characters when to unlock the B-sides, but for now I'll talk about the 17 main characters. Isaac, Magdalene, Cain, Judas, Blue Baby, Eve, Samson, Azazel, Lazarus, Eden, the Lost, Lilith, Apollyon, the Keeper, the Forgotten, Bethany, and Jacob and Esau. All of these characters have amazing strengths and weaknesses that make most, if not all, of the characters in this game feel balanced. A huge example of this is my personal favorite character, the Lost. After playing a shit ton of greed mode, and I mean a shit ton, he'll start with the Holy Mantle that will make the character playable, basically. At that point, he can take 2 hits in a room and that's game over. He may be frustrating when you have an amazing run and choke at the last minute when you let your guard down, but this unbelievable weakness comes with an even better set of strengths. For starters, he has Flight and Spectral Tears right out of the package, which makes it so much easier to avoid getting hit. This basically just means he can fly over stuff and shoot through things. He can take Devil Deals for free instead of spending his HP because he has no HP, even though they nerfed it so he can only take 1 item per Devil Deal and the others disappear. He also starts with the Eternal D6, which will let him reroll items like Isaac can, but this has the chance of deleting the item pedestal completely. He can also take advantage of some of the new mechanics for items like the boss drop turning into a Devil Deal when you use the Book of Shadows. It may not give him any hearts or lives, but he gets another potentially powerful Devil Deal item. Since I learned this trick, every time that I get the Book of Shadows, it's almost a guaranteed guppy transformation. This is another thing that shows how in-depth the game can get. I've spent hundreds of hours in this game, and just recently I taught myself a new synergy with an item I had not considered before. I'm still learning more about this game even after 100%ing it. Each character has its own ways to play, and each player can come at the game in a different way to win. That's another great thing about this game. No one play style is the right one. I know a ton of people that play this game, and I don't think a single one plays it the same way as another person that I know that plays the game. Okay, now that I've sung the game so much praise, let's talk about the few gripes that I have with this game, especially when trying to get unlocks. The tainted set of characters, the quote-unquote B-sides to all 17 characters, felt like a slog to play through. Even though there were some really good ones I enjoyed playing, like Tainted Keeper and Tainted Lost, some of these characters were just a burden to get through, and I cried myself to sleep until I had them done. When I was working on completion marks for this game, Tainted Lazarus was still unfinished, and it made me cry trying to play this mess of a character. I'm not exaggerating when I say that when I was finished with this character, I screamed at the top of my lungs in relief of the fact that I would never have to boot up the game and select this character again. Now they have made him a little better and fixed the way items work when holding flip, but when I played him he was a total mess. Tainted Jacob had a lot of nuance to him, and the skill ceiling is insane. I didn't have too much trouble getting through his completion marks, however I cannot say I was completely satisfied when I finished with him. Besides the tainted characters, I do have a few small issues with the game. Firstly, the way they thought they had to perfectly balance every item they added into the game. I understand what they were going for in trying to keep the game a fun challenge, and it was pretty boring when I got Brimstone and Afterbirth Plus and just one. I also get that they didn't want the game to have one item carries. That would have really hurt the game in the long run. On the other hand though, let me have fun in my single player game. Now that doesn't mean that there are not some overpowered runs that I've gotten since the nerfs and Repentance. I have had plenty, but I'm tired of all the constant changes. They're hard to keep track of at times. Another thing that was kinda disappointing was the soundtrack. Now before you start commenting on how stupid I am and how much you love the soundtrack to this game, I love it too. It has a charm that no other game I have played in my long time playing video games can match. But when I talk about this, I'm talking about it in comparison to the feel of the Antibirth soundtrack. For those of you who don't know, Antibirth is the mod that sparked the ideas for Repentance and also took a lot one-for-one in exchange for hiring the developer of said mod as a game dev for Repentance. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that they adapted a mod into canon gameplay. I actually think it's really cool that Edmund decided to do that. It's just that the soundtrack for the original Antibirth mod was so good. It got to the point that after I listened to the soundtrack for the Binding of Isaac for so long, I used a mod to change it to the Antibirth soundtrack, and I never looked back. This soundtrack is amazing and just fits the game so well. It's just disappointing that I was not as blown away with the original soundtrack for the game. That's also why you're hearing it in the background of this video. For example, here's a portion of the chest fight song from the original soundtrack. And here's the same song in the Antibirth soundtrack. Now, just because I'm saying that this game has issues doesn't undo all of the things that I love about this game. I love this game so much that I'm willing to go into a whole new type of video just to tell you how much I love it. This game is amazing, and it has made me feel so many emotions, more than some AAA games can make me feel. This game has made me laugh, cry, and even scream in rage when I lose an amazing run to a stupid hit that I could have never reacted to. I'm going to be playing this game for a long time to come, and I hope that this video has made you want to pick it up, if you haven't already. If you do play it, I beg you to keep playing it. The community is great and very welcoming. In conclusion, The Binding of Isaac is an amazing game, and I would recommend it to anyone looking for a game to kill some time. The game is amazing all around, even if it has a little hiccups here and there. All games do. There's a reason I've spent so much time in it, and it is so much value for the small price that it runs for, even with all the DLC. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, even though it was a little different. I was thinking about doing these types of videos in between some of my usual gameplay videos. Have a good night, everybody.